My wife said, "I don't think this marriage will survive another year, he's way below my league." They laughed. I said, "Let's finish it now." That night her best friend's message stopped me cold. I walked into my own house, caked in sweat and dust from a brutal double shift, only to hear my wife's voice slice through the evening air, declaring our marriage wouldn't last. The cold, casual laughter that followed nearly stopped my heart. Every muscle in my body screamed for rest, all I wanted was a hot shower and some quiet. But the house was unusually bright for a Wednesday night, and the clinking of wine glasses and muffled voices from the living room told me my hopes for peace were shattered. I dropped my keys, kicked off my boots, and started toward the kitchen for water. That's when it hit me, clear as a bell. "I honestly don't think this marriage will last another year," my wife, Olivia, announced. Her tone was so dismissive, like she was complaining about a chipped nail polish. I froze in the hallway, hidden by the wall, and the conversation continued. I couldn't make out the friend's question, but Olivia's response came through perfectly. "He's falling so far below my level. It's embarrassing." And then, they laughed. Actually laughed, like it was the funniest thing they'd heard all week. My heart wasn't pounding with anger yet, just a weird, sickening disbelief. Was I hearing this right? I stood there, smelling of sweat and cardboard, still in my dirty work clothes, just listening. "I mean, he works at a warehouse, for goodness sake," Olivia continued, her voice growing more animated. "I have a marketing degree, I work at Sterling Marketing downtown, and he's just stuck there, going nowhere." One of her friends, I think it was Chloe, said something supportive, but Olivia cut her off. No. I'm done making excuses for him. I really am." And I heard glasses clink, toasting that statement. Something inside me quietly snapped. Not a loud, explosive snap, but a quiet, final break. It wasn't just venting. It wasn't a bad day. This was what she truly thought of me. This was how she saw our marriage, our life, me. I took a deep breath, straightened my shoulders, and walked into the living room. The conversation died instantly. For women, faces flushed with wine, smiles fading the moment they saw me standing there. Olivia's eyes went wide, her mouth slightly agape, panic creeping across her face as she realized I'd heard everything. I just looked at her, letting the silence stretch, becoming thick and uncomfortable. Then, very calmly, my voice steady, I said, "You're right. Why wait a year? Let's end it now." The room went completely silent. Olivia sprang up, nearly knocking over her wine glass. "Wait, no. I didn't mean it like that," she stammered, words tumbling out. "We were just talking. Girl talk. You know how it is." I shook my head slowly, that eerie calm settling over me. "No. You meant every word. I could hear it in your voice." Her friends started scrambling, grabbing purses, muttering awkward goodbyes as they shuffled out like they couldn't escape fast enough. Chloe looked back at me, a strange mix of pity and respect on her face, like she understood. Olivia followed me down the hallway, her voice rising, frantic. "Please, you're overreacting." I was venting, she pleaded, her heels clicking behind me. Everyone vents about their spouse sometimes. But I wasn't listening. I pulled a duffel bag from the closet and started throwing clothes in. Underwear, shirts, jeans, socks, not angry, just efficient. In the bathroom, I grabbed my toothbrush, razor, deodorant. She grabbed my arm, trying to stop me, and I gently, but firmly, pulled away. "You said I'm below your level," I finally said, a tremor in my voice. "Maybe you're right. Maybe I am. So, let's both go find someone on our own level." I zipped the bag, grabbed my phone charger and wallet, and walked past her. Olivia was crying now, real tears, mascara running. "We can work on this. Counseling. Please don't leave." But I just kept walking. Past the living room where moments ago I'd been humiliated, the half-empty wine bottle still on the table. She followed me to the front door, still begging. I turned back one last time. "You don't respect me," I said quietly. "And I'm done being with someone who doesn't respect me." Then I walked out, closing the door on her words. In my truck, I sat for a moment, hands on the wheel, watching her silhouette in the window. I started the engine and drove away, not looking back. I ended up at a motel off Interstate 10, a cheap place with a flickering neon sign. Room 14 smelled of cigarettes and cheap cleaner. I threw my bag on the faded floral comforter and sat on the edge of the bed. I expected pain, regret, but instead, an overwhelming relief washed over me. It felt like shedding a weight I hadn't realized I was carrying. My phone buzzed, Olivia calling. I watched her name light up the screen until it finally went to voicemail. The next morning, my phone was buzzing frantically. Dozens of missed calls, texts. Mostly from Olivia, a chaotic mix of desperate apologies, then angry accusations, then back to begging. I scrolled through, not really reading, just sensing the panic and manipulation. I silenced her notifications, lay back on the lumpy bed, and stared at the water-stained ceiling. The room smelled of stale smoke and industrial carpet cleaner, but it felt more honest than my own house had in months. Around noon, after a shower and clean clothes, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was Chloe, Olivia's best friend. I recognized the number. She'd been Olivia's college roommate, spin class buddy. Her message was short, urgent. Asking me to call, saying it was important. My gut told me this wasn't a setup. I stared at it for 5 solid minutes, then called back. She picked up on the first ring, her voice low and tense. What she told me over the next 10 minutes turned my blood to ice. Olivia had been planning to divorce me for months, since February, right after that Valentine's trip I thought went well. She'd hired a lawyer, building a case, deliberately trying to provoke me into leaving first so she could claim abandonment for a better settlement. Every argument, every cold shoulder, every time she'd pushed my buttons until I snapped, it all clicked into place. A calculated strategy, probably from her lawyer. Chloe explained she'd gone along with the venting the night before, thinking it was normal friend talk. But when I walked out, and she saw Olivia's face, she realized it was a setup. Olivia had wanted me to overhear, orchestrated the whole thing to push me out. But she'd expected me to come crawling back, so she could document a pattern of instability. My permanent departure had completely blindsided her, ruined her timeline. Chloe said she couldn't stand by. She'd taken screenshots of texts from Olivia, detailing the divorce strategy, lawyer consultations, asset split plans. She sent them to me right there. I sat in that dingy motel room, staring at my phone, reading my wife's messages about making me look bad, needing documentation of me being an absent husband, planning to take the house and leave me with debt. It was all there, proof that my marriage had been a calculated takedown for months, and I'd been completely oblivious. After I hung up with Chloe, I didn't break down. Instead, something cold and focused rose inside me. A clarity I hadn't felt in years. If Olivia wanted to play games, to manipulate, I needed to be smarter. That afternoon, I called attorney David Miller, highly recommended from legal forums. His office was downtown, sleek and professional. I showed him everything, Chloe's screenshots, my timeline, the fact I'd left only my own things. David listened, took notes, then gave me the first glimmer of hope. Olivia had made a critical mistake, showing her hand too early. We had evidence of her intent. For the next 3 days, I barely slept. I gathered bank statements, credit card records, proof of every payment on the mortgage, cars, bills. I documented everything, creating a paper trail showing I was a responsible partner. I made spreadsheets, organized folders, treating it like a work project, the only way to avoid thinking too hard about what it all meant. David advised me to return to the house at least once to establish I hadn't abandoned it. The law in our state was clear. So, Thursday evening, stomach in knots, I drove back. Olivia was there, on the couch in yoga pants, eyes red. She stood, her brain visibly processing, trying to find the right mask. She started with a soft, wounded voice, talking about our 4 years, how she still loved me, how we could work on things. I didn't engage. Just walked past her toward the bedroom to gather more things. She followed, her voice rising, trying different emotional angles. Then I told her. I know about February. About the lawyer. About the whole plan. Her face went pale, then red, then pale again. She demanded to know who told me, panic flashing in her eyes. She started accusing Chloe, calling her a backstabbing traitor. I cut her off. It doesn't matter who told me. What matters is it's true, and we both know it. I grabbed my laptop, important documents, my grandfather's watch, things I'd forgotten. She tried more emotional manipulation, crying, pleading, accusing. But I wasn't listening. I walked out of that house for the second time, but this time, I wasn't running in pain. I was walking away with purpose. The next morning, David filed the divorce papers, serving Olivia at Sterling Marketing, professional, public, exactly how she'd probably planned to do it to me. I didn't feel victorious, just like I'd stopped being a victim. Chloe later told me Olivia had called her, hysterical, screaming about betrayal. Apparently, half her office saw the server. I didn't feel good or bad. Just necessary. Her lawyer reached out, trying to negotiate, but Olivia's leverage was gone. Chloe's screenshots showed clear intent to manipulate. The strategy, the narrative about me being a deadbeat, it all crumbled. Over the next few weeks, I watched Olivia's life unravel. Chloe and 2 other friends from that night, including Sarah, distanced themselves. Chloe said Olivia lashed out at everyone, burning every bridge. The irony that the people she expected to back her were now evidence against her. The legal process was surprisingly straightforward. For years married, no kids, the house underwater, which Olivia had pushed for. I let her have it. Walking away clean. Our cars were separate. Credit card debt split, meaning she took more due to her shopping. My savings, built from overtime and side jobs, stayed mine. Then, in August, an unexpected call. Olivia's mother, Eleanor. A woman I'd always found fair. She asked to meet for coffee. Against my better judgment, I agreed. She looked tired, worn. She got straight to the point, she knew Olivia's manipulations, was ashamed. She'd raised Olivia to be ambitious, but it had twisted into entitlement and contempt. She apologized for not seeing it sooner. Then she dropped the bombshell. Olivia had been having an incident since January, 8 months, with Daniel, an assistant director at her office, who drove a BMW. Eleanor had found evidence by accident. The incident explained everything: Olivia's sudden shift, the criticism, the elaborate divorce plans. Daniel was married, going through his own messy separation, and made it clear he wasn't looking for anything serious. Olivia had convinced herself they'd end up together, but Daniel had never promised that. She panicked when I left because her plan was to control the narrative, leave me on her terms, while keeping me as a backup if Daniel didn't work out. My quick departure had shattered her illusion of control. She wasn't crying for me, she was crying because I'd messed up her plans. Eleanor said she'd already given this to my lawyer, wanting me to have every advantage. I sat there, coffee getting cold, processing that my soon-to-be ex-mother-in-law was actively helping me divorce her daughter. Attorney Miller used the incident information strategically. Olivia's lawyer advised her to settle fast. By September, 3 months after that night, we were officially divorced. The settlement was better than expected: my savings, my truck, none of the house debt. Olivia got the house, the mortgage, and her car loan. Exactly what she'd wanted on paper, but now she had to handle it alone. Daniel, according to Eleanor, had completely ended things with Olivia once the office drama started. He wanted to protect his own reputation. I moved into a small apartment across town, nothing fancy, but it was mine. I threw myself into work, picking up extra shifts. My supervisor noticed, giving me more responsibility, and by November, I was promoted to shift supervisor. Still a warehouse, still tired, but I was building something. Around then, I started talking more with Clara, who worked in the office. We'd always been friendly. After my divorce, she asked me for coffee. We talked for 2 hours. She knew about my divorce but didn't pry. She just listened. We started seeing each other casually. What struck me was how easy everything felt. No drama, no games, no feeling like I had to prove my worth. She worked hard, had her own life, and treated me like an equal partner. By December, 6 months after everything imploded, I realized I'd gone entire days without thinking about Olivia or the marriage. I was sleeping better, eating better, actually enjoying my life. I reconnected with friends, started going to the gym, reading again, things I'd let go. Olivia tried to reach out a few times, always late at night, a mix of regret and accusation. I never responded. Eleanor sent a Christmas card with a handwritten note, apologizing again. I appreciated the acknowledgement that I hadn't been crazy, hadn't deserved what happened. Looking back almost a year later, that one night changed everything. Not just because I left, but because I understood something crucial: you can't make someone respect you. You can't argue them into valuing you. And you definitely can't fix a relationship where one person has already checked out and is planning their exit while you're still trying to make things work. The incident, the manipulation, the planning, none of it was about me not being good enough. It was about Olivia being someone I never truly knew. Someone who valued appearances and status over true partnership. Someone who saw people as stepping stones. She wanted to trade up, and when that didn't work, she tried to keep me as a fallback. But I wasn't anyone's backup plan. Walking away from that realization was the best thing I ever did. I found my own apartment, a job I'm good at, a woman who sees me as an equal, and most importantly, I found my self-respect again. That's the real victory. Not the settlement, not exposing her, but realizing my worth isn't determined by someone else's opinion. And that freedom, that realization, is something nobody can ever take away. What would you have done in my shoes?